5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to Last Minute Continues Game of the Year Awards. And once again, I am joined by Judge Turbo.
You caught me off guard. I was about to make a Judge Dredd reference, but then I've completely blanked on that. So thanks for doing that. Bloody heck.
So you are the law then?
I'm law. There we go.
No, don't reference that one.
He knew you'd say that.
We have jury ShadowFox.
Guilty. All of you are guilty of sin.
And then I am your executioner, Urtheart. And yes, as we usually do once a year, we have gathered here to render our judgment on the best games of this year. Although it's the second time we've done this year. Kind of.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this one's a more isolated to this year. This year that we've played, at least, again.
Yes, and oh boy, has it been a year. I think we can agree there's been a lot of good games this year.
I can certainly say that. I feel like it was top and tailed a lot. Beginning of the year, end of year for me. The middle was a bit more sparse.
For me, it was it was definitely different because I've played more new releases for this calendar year, for the 12-month calendar year that we go by, than I have in prior editions of the Game of the Year podcast that we do here for LMC and for Radio Sega. Hello, everyone listening on Radio Sega. It's definitely a lot more than I expected. I just went back through. I was just going through my list, and it's like, okay, I got my top 5 here. What else did I? Oh wait, I played. Oh my goodness gracious! I played a lot this year.
You go scrolling through the list of
and
game
here's the thing:
this year.
it's just like they're all good. They're like the majority of them were all good. Titles. So it was really difficult for me to narrow it down to 5 after I was looking at all of them, and it's like, oh man. So expect a lengthy honorable mentions list. I will try to be fast as possible when it comes to that.
But yes, as much as a good game it has, as much as a good year it has been for games, there has also been somewhat of tragedy with a lot of games industry people sadly losing positions and some high-profile cancellations as well, and delays.
Yes, good year for games, bad year for, well, certainly people within the companies. I'm sure the companies are still...
Yeah.
These people in charge are still having a laugh.
So, do support the game companies you believe in. Make sure they can keep their employees, employed, is probably the best advice we can say. But, yes, there's certainly been a lot of this year. To be fair, for me, like, there's a lot of games that I just have not gotten around to getting to this year. There's been like some big games I want to get to, I just haven't. So yeah, I guess we get it started. Normal rules apply for us. Games released between roughly December of last year.
December to November. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bit of leeway. We allow some of November because although we record this, quite early in December, you can't always get to games released on the 30th of November.
Basically anything that released probably a week prior to our last recording till now
is fair game.
Is fair game.
And I'm not allowed, well, as the only one here that works on video games at the moment, I also don't include any video games that I've worked on, because...
You say at the moment. You expect any of us to just jump into a studio any day?
You never know.
If I win the lottery and hire you, yes. But we have decided order this year, so we shall begin. ShadowFox, would you like to take over?
It's an alphabetical according to our Discord rankings at the moment. But yes, number 5 for me was a game that I will admit I had higher hopes for, especially as a game that is or a series that is very familiar on LMC. It's a game that also did just have an update, though. I think literally possibly yesterday, as of recording, that brought it back in line to probably the release it should have had. And that game is Payday 3.
Crime.
Not crime. Yeah. Yes, we love our crime over here. But yeah, it's, obviously, Payday 2 was being updated right up until I'd probably say like the month and before Payday 3, at least with the last.
It's still getting hot fixes.
It's still getting which good. No, and no game should reach end of life without at least tweaks coming on if they find problems, especially if there's still events going on for it. But yes, Payday 3. It's a little bit more grounded than the Nephilim-inspired lore of the Payday 2 game. But obviously, you've had a slight problem, you've lost all your money, all this stuff's happened, and you've got to turn back to crime in order to work your way up again. With a digital twist in that we're now putting everything into crypto. The most secure of all
I was going to say, that plot line has aged like sour milk.
Well, the one that's not soured quite as much is all half your gadgets are now based on your phone, which probably is true now.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if we're talking about criminals getting into crypto, that sounds pretty apt, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the gameplay is actually quite different. It's still got a hint of arcade. Like I would consider, like Payday 1 was a more grounded one. Payday 2 was a much more arcadey kind of shooter, running around, dual wielding everything. This one, you've got the movement is a little bit slower, a little bit more thoughtful. There's less enemies, they're stronger, you're weaker. So it plays more into the tactical effect of it. You've got less gadgets. I say, it's like, any game that releases after having one coming out from a sequel, you got to kind of dial it back. You can't have everything in, so you haven't got all these crazy perk decks and stuff. But the tree system works differently now. You got 3 buffs, so you got your rush, your grit, your edge for speed, damage, and tank boosting. You got your unlockable weapons, which people found some hilarious ways or easy ways to level up using what's been colloquially nicknamed the sperm bank heist, or the 99 boxes one, as it were.
Oh right, yeah. No, I knew it was the 99 boxes. I hadn't heard of the other one.
Mainly just because of the required refrigeration of the boxes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but yeah, there's still some balance to be done, but it's like the game itself, when it released, it had a absolutely solid base. The gunplay felt good. All the enemies were tactical. You got specific. It's not just aim for the head. Certain enemies have other weak spots. Like tasers have little electrified packs. Grenadiers have grenade belts you can shoot to help change the battlefield. The cloakers are still a pain in the arse, flying over and knocking you down.
Yeah, the game did start a bit rocky though with its connection issues.
It did, yes. Not be surprised anymore with an always online game.
No, not with Overkill.
No. I mean, they did all the testing, but obviously it still wasn't enough. But Yeah, they've gotten it back to a point where it's, like I say, it's now, I would say, at game release, because they released 2 classic heists now, and they've mentioned that, hey, if people who, in any future DLCs, when people buy DLCs, friends can join in for free, similar to Payday 2, so good sense of community there. You could just jump into any heist, even if you don't own it, as long as the man in charge does, or the person in charge. But yeah, being able to get that sort of stealth gameplay back that I've been missing a little bit in certain things, crawling around, alerting guards with like throwing knives, sticking motion sensors on them to track them. It's bringing back a lot of, like, closer to, it's between the original Payday the Heist and Payday 2 vibes. Yeah, I would absolutely say great game. Definitely worthy of number 5 at least.
Yeah, this didn't make my top 5. I've played it. I've enjoyed playing it with you guys, and there's certainly fun to be had. I don't know. I feel it's hard because I never played Payday 2 at launch, so I don't know how little content there was there. But it does feel like there's a little bit limitation on the amount of content there was at launch. But that will obviously get better over time.
Well, it's now number 5, Turbo. How about you?
I was gonna say, so I was gonna segue into the term of group games.
Ooh.
This game could class as a group game. It's like it boasts a lot of heavy marketing on its multiplayer and stuff like that, both couch co-op and online and whatnot. But yet, it was a disappointment to a lot of people. I did have a little bit of disappointment of it at the end, but I'm having it at number 5 because it's a landmark achievement in my journey of having 100 platinums on the PlayStation brand. And that is with Sonic Superstars. Now this game, it is not fantastic game. It's no great successor to like Sonic Mania, and it wasn't aiming to be. It was obviously it was a project that was in collaboration with RZS, which is the studio that Naoto Oshima heads for with that, and it was him and Takashi Iizuka having conversations of saying, hey, would you have enough free time to kind of like collaborate with us to make a new Sonic game? Okay, let's go, let's do this. And in a good aspect of the game, they did a good job. It was just the end game stuff that they needed to work on a little bit.
I definitely have to agree with you on that one.
Yeah, it's just like the majority of the game is fine. Like I had a fun time going through the levels, collecting the emeralds, doing that next thing and whatnot. That's all fine. It was the end game stuff, specifically the end game for. Now, spoilers for people who haven't played it, okay? But the main game isn't the end of the main game is not the end. There's additional stuff afterwards, where there's another run through all the levels again as another character, solely as another character, and then there's even an a final story,
final chapter / boss.
Yeah,
as is kind of got a tradition with the 3D games more than the 2D ones.
Yeah, which is it is I mean, granted, it hasn't been the first time that was the case, because you had the Advanced Trilogy,
that's true.
That had that kind of like mentality of bringing what was becoming popular in the 3D games from Adventure onward into the 2D space. But for this one to be, obviously regarded as a classic Sonic game. It's new to that, technically. But yeah, those last bits, they are the hardest things in the game. But other than that, I did find some enjoyment out of it. It's just, it's not as enjoyable as how I put Sonic Frontiers last year up in that. And even then, with recent updates and whatnot, that's not... If I was going over that game again this year, it would be in this number 5 spot because of its extra content now. But nevertheless, I still find enjoyment out of the game. I liked what they did with, the emerald powers and whatnot. Granted, I forgot about them. I forgot about the individual powers at certain points, but when you do remember them and you utilize them in gameplay, they can be really good. They can really go help you out in bosses and whatnot, and progressing through levels instead of just like going through it vanilla as such.
It definitely helps when it reminds you of what powers you can use. So stuff like when you're up against a waterfall, it reminds you, hey, you have the waterfall power up. Do you want to use it?
Yeah, exactly. So it gives you that option of exploration, which really, in all honesty, like, many people keep forgetting that Sonic's not always about speed or speeding through the level as fast as you can. There is a bit of exploration to it, especially if you're going to be trying to find the emeralds and whatnot. So,
all the gold enemies.
Yes, the gold enemy. I mean, granted, that's, again, I found that to be a bit annoying, and of course that was especially annoying with the end game one.
Well, the reason it was annoying is because you can't die after beating the enemy.
Yeah, but granted, there's been many a game, or many a Sonic game that has had that aspect of you have to get this item or do this objective and then complete the game without dying. And
yeah, but on the last level, I feel it's a bit bullshit.
It is. I will agree to that. That is,
especially,
it is BS.
And this is not to belittle your choice or anything. The amount of times I lost that not because I did something wrong, but because of something like glitching through the floor, which is just annoying.
Yeah, no, I understand. There was definitely several issues that the game has had and whatnot. But of course, in recent, obviously, like in prior games, there has been updates to try to rectify those issues and stuff like that. Whether or not they've been helpful, it's up to up for debate. I didn't really come across many glitches on my runs. It was more of a case of dealing with the challenge of the end game stuff. That was the issue. Like, or specifically doing that, like the gold, defeating the gold enemy in the last level, and you have to also beat the final boss for that to, and all do it in one life. And of course, there's a number of moments where you could die, by falling down in the pit and stuff like that. But other than that, I still found enjoyment out of the game, and it was a landmark kind of like game for me this year, because I wanted to make Sonic Superstars my 100th platinum on the PlayStation brand. And effectively, that Sonic game, the only Sonic games I've never platinumed on the PlayStation brand across all generations has been Sonic Unleashed, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed.
Yeah, fair enough on that one.
Because I already did the 1,000 gamer score on Xbox, and that was enough for me. And I think there was one other title, I can't remember, for Sonic. It might have been on it might have been on PSP or something like that. I can't mind. Well, actually, not PSP, but
Vita.
PlayStation Vita. Yeah, because
yeah.
But other than that, I always aim to try to get as many of the platinums from the Sonic games in like the last 5 or so years, because I've been very prominent on the PlayStation brand from 4 onwards. So, and I really wanted to make Sonic Superstars that milestone, kind of like achievement in that. And yeah, that's why I have it at number 5. It could have been replaced by many other games in my honorable mentions, and many of you listening right now will probably be like, "Oh my god, why didn't you just replace Sonic Superstars with any of these games?" And I will totally understand, but really, in all honesty, this is my list, and personally, Sonic Superstars is more connected to me than any of the other games that were in the honorable mentions. So.
That's fair. This one didn't make my top 5. I agree, there's definitely a lot to enjoy in this game. I think I have a little more qualms about it from a design perspective. Like, for instance, this game is, bigged up to be this, hey, play it with your friends. And then there's, like, specific levels for specific characters that can only be played in single player. And the second run through the game is only single player, which I feel like defeats the point of you advertising it as a 4-player co-op game, but that's I say nitpicks, but probably more just me being me, to be honest.
No, I totally agree. Like, I think they could have made that better if you had a multiplayer mode for that second run thing, rather than just locking it to single player. That it would, make it like make the branding or like make the advertising correct and whatnot. So,
yeah.
Oh no, they're misguiding us with false advertising. Shame on you. No, but it's just like they were focusing on the main story being the key part of it, because it is the key part. That's the first thing that you play in the game, and that has all the main features, and it'll have the replayability and whatnot. But other than that, yeah, I can understand how how certain design choices for the game would have, kind of like gone, why couldn't they done this better, or why couldn't they change this a bit? And
despite me playing the entire game solo.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I always play. I am more of a solo player than I am a multiplayer guy. So really, this was all fine for me. Yeah. So, and I've seen many people playing at multiplayer and having such weird times with the game. But of course, me being the solo guy, I don't experience all that because I'm a loner. But yeah, Sonic Superstars, that's my number 5. Earth, what is your number 5?
My number 5 is a really niche game that I don't think either of you guys will have played any of the series, despite the fact that this is the 7th mainline entry in the series. If you don't count the one mainline entry that was a direct sequel to one of the other main games in the series. Anyway, so this is Disgaea 7 Vows of the Virtueless. If you don't know what Disgaea is...
Yes, I can't say I've played that one.
Well, I know of the series because you've talked about it before,
yeah,
and I only just knew about the 7th entry being released because I saw it in my workplace just the other week.
Wait, they've got physical copies in your workplace?
Oh yeah, number 7.
I did not think...
Like on PS5.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't think they sold it in stores. I thought they only sold it through the their own developers. Oh no, I have seen it on other things.
No, it's, it like with my new place of work, it's a second hand.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I bought it on PC. There is definitely no physical version.
Oh yeah, if it's PC, yeah, no physical version of that.
But yeah, so if you don't know what Disgaea 7 is, it's a strategic RPG series, aka turn-based combat, but it's on a grid, so actually the position of your units is important. Now, the previous game in the series, Disgaea 6, which I have not played because it did not review very well, and I trusted the reviews from various Disgaea content creators that I followed, who basically went, this is not very good. Now, admittedly, Disgaea 6 was their transformation from 2D to 3D graphics, or at least character models. Prior to that, Disgaea 5 and before had all been sprite-based. Thankfully, this one's gone back up to form, and a lot of the complaints that I saw for Disgaea 6 have definitely been fixed for Disgaea 7. There are two major gimmicks they introduce in this one. Jumbification, which works for any of your units, which, after you've taken enough damage, etc., etc., you can jumbify one of your units, which will affect the stats of some of your units based on whatever character you jumbify, and then the massive character gets put to the side of the screen and can either punch a giant area of the map, or can fight other kaiju characters that have grown in size from the opposite team. And all of the jumpification stuff comes with like mini cutscenes that are like, oh my god, look, Godzilla is rising, or mad scientist creates massive creature, kind of thing. So that's fun. The second gimmick is something called Hell Mode, which is very reminiscent of Disgaea 5's Revenge system, but it only works for unique characters, so characters that are not generic units, they are like main characters, etc., etc. Those can be insanely powerful, but again, it just means that you're only using main units, which is not always a great thing. My biggest criticism of the game is this is actually one of the weaker stories, I think. It's all going to be subjective. The base story about this is that the two main characters are a cat girl called Perilika, who is a rich otaku fan who has this idealized version of the Netherworld, which is based on feudal Japan and the samurai era. And she, believes is like, yes, samurai are honorable Bushido men. And then your second main character is a guy called Fuji, who is a corrupt samurai who will do anything for money and has an allergy to affection and sincerity. To which point, if that happens around him, he starts coughing up blood. It's this guy. The plots are usually a bit nonsensical, but...
Sounds a bit crazy.
Yeah, my biggest criticism with this one is that the characters aren't particularly likeable, and there's no real progression of their story arc. Other games have done a better job of like, hey, you have a character, and they have some kind of progressive arc. Disgaea 5 actually did it quite well, in which the main character you play as has this progressive arc, but it's before the game even began, and actually you're unlocking it through interacting with other characters, and it's a really interesting way of doing it. But, the gameplay is solid. They've changed a few things. The item world has been reduced in size, which is kind of good, kind of bad. It means grinding through it is a lot quicker, which is nice. But it obviously means the difficulty spikes up quite quickly in them, which, depending on how well you know how to manipulate the game, can be bad. There's a few new classes. There is finally a reintroduction of the male thief, which hasn't been seen since the very first game, because the female thief's design is much, much better. And they've just copied the female thief for the male thief. So
I was going to say, it's not much better, it's much popular.
No, I would say, because the original one was very much just, it was called a scout, so it was just a lightly clothed human.
Yeah, but as is the case with anime and whatnot, it's like it got more praise from the community than it would if it was a male. But
I don't think so. That's the case with the thief, because the thief is very cleverly designed. It's not very fan servicey. So, to give you an idea,
that's just my mindset when it comes to anime. Kind of
I understand that, because a lot of classes do that. The big thing is, and it was one of the complaints with Disgaea 6, But generally through the series, you've always had an option of a male and a female version of a unit, and the only difference being they'll specialise in something slightly different. So the warrior classes, the male warrior has better attack stats and is better with axes, which are high risk weapons, whereas the female warriors, who are called Valkyries, have better defense and work better with spears. So they're slightly more focused on defense, but they're both your main attack units, is the thing. The thief has never had that, because there's only really been one. But the reason her design, she's basically a cat burglar with like goggles that make her eyes look like cat eyes, but then when she takes the goggles off, she just has cat eyes underneath anyway. So it's a nice like little twist. But yeah, they've introduced the male thief. There's a couple of other new classes. They've introduced the the jumping zombies that you get in that mythology.
In Chinese mythology.
Oh, is it Chinese mythology? Yes.
Yeah, I believe the talisman on the face and hopping around.
Oh, those ones.
That's Chinese zombies.
Fair enough. And also they introduced a new kind of like support unit, which is like a Japanese traditional dancer, basically. So they're all fun. The only other real criticism is the DLC is not required to beat the end games. I've not beaten far end game stuff, but the DLC is kind of required to get there in any kind of normal sense of time, because some of the abilities you get from those characters are pretty essential for speed grinding. I've really enjoyed this. I've spent quite a bit of time on it, and I've completed the main story. I've done a fair bit into post-game. I've unlocked the Land of Carnage, which is kind of the post-game world, which makes all of the levels really difficult, but is there purposely for, extra challenge. I've not beaten the secret final boss, because I've yet to figure out how to get past his starting gimmick, which is every unit you put on the map gets instantly killed.
That's a bit unfair.
It seems a bit overpowered.
The thing is, he's meant to be unfair. It's meant to be like this stupidly hard final boss, which is just like, okay, if you can beat this, you can do anything else in the game. So I don't hold it too much, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did buy the version with all the DLC, partially because I wanted one of the unlockable characters, just because it's my favourite character in the series. But also, I quite like a lot of the other characters. I still think I prefer Disgaea 5. I definitely still prefer the sprite art style. I'm not a massive fan of the 3D models. But it's a company that they're only just starting to use them, so give them a little bit of leeway. And as I said, the previous problems with Disgaea 6 was they cut the roster of characters dramatically to account for the fact they were having to make new 3D models for everything, but it meant that you only got one gender of every class and massively reduced what they could do. So it's good to see them go back to having a big selection. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed Disgaea 7. Would I recommend it as your first Disgaea? It's actually not bad. I think it does a very good job of slowly introducing the elements and tutorializing them quite well. So actually, as a first Disgaea, maybe this is a good one. But if you are a fan of the Disgaea series, I think this is a good return to form. Is it the best? Well, that depends on your thoughts, because I think 5 is the best, but most people swear by the first 2 games. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Disgaea 7, Vows of the Virtueless is my number 5. ShadowFox, I think it's back to you.
Yeah, which means we knocked down a number from 5 to 4. So, when it comes to 4, it was pretty much a toss-up between 2 remakes this year. And I'm kind of following your rule of only having 1 remake.
I mean, you do know that rule only applies to me. You guys can do whatever you want.
I know, but it feels more appropriate. Plus, also, why should we romanticize the past too much when there are
That's
new,
kind of my
shiny
main
wonderful-
reason, yeah. And also, I'll be honest, if I hadn't have done that, my 5 and 4 would have both been kicked off the list for other remakes. So
Yeah. So it's the game I chose of the remakes. It was a big toss-up. Because it's a situation where the other one I think might be is the superior remake, but this one is I'd say my more favourite games, if that gives it away a little bit.
possibly.
I got a good idea of what it could be.
Yes. Well, if I were to say Snake,
Metal Gear.
it would probably give it away a little bit more. But yes, the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection makes it onto this list this year over the other remake, which I'll get to in the honourable mentions.
Hang on. Hang
What?
on. You're putting a collection of older games that are not really remastered, they're ports.
So technically, yes.
Technically,
But
they're
I
ports
have-
of remasters.
They're ports.
Yeah, because we had a remaster collection with 2, 3, and
The HD.
Peace Walker HD collection.
But that also had Peace Walker. This one doesn't. which makes it actually
Semantics.
Semantics. Yeah, no. But again, this is something I touched on when I was doing the stream of it.
Oh Christ! If we were going to be like this, I would have put in Sonic Origins Plus on here. But
I mean, I would have let you put Sonic Origins Plus on this if you
You can do
wanted.
it.
but no, I have standards.
No. Well, my standards were raised by the modding community.
Okay, go on.
So here's the thing. I'm very specifically going to put the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection in brackets PC edition. There.
Okay,
very
yeah, these
importantly,
games haven't been available on PC before, kind of.
They've been so 1 and 2 have been on Good Old Games. The old
Yes,
GOG.
not working very well, I believe.
No, yeah. But yeah, this is the first time. I mean, this is the first time a lot of people will be able to access many of the quite a few of these games. 3 especially, because I don't think that was on Good Old Games.
No, 3's never had a PC port.
Yeah, 3 has never had a PC port. So, and there is absolutely the issue of if you're on console, you're basically playing console versions of the game at an inferior standard to the originals, more or less.
I mean, granted, that's been the curse for a number of years.
Yeah.
For
Let's
all that.
just say Game Archival still has a lot to be desired.
Certainly from some companies.
Yes. Which is, again, the reason why I'm super happy this exists, because when you think of Konami and what they went through a period of about half a decade of some questionable practices of theoretically leaving the games market entirely and just holding on to all these IPs, which thankfully they didn't. They have actually, I mean, was it Dead by Daylight managed to acquire Pyramid Head? Of course, he's more of an icon than anything.
I was gonna say those kind of like collaborations is not really what people were hoping for. They were hoping for
it's not
like new actual games. What they have been doing, obviously, with their properties is that they have been re-releasing a lot of their games that were locked onto certain consoles. Like, for example, the Castlevania Advance Trilogy. Or,
Yeah, I was
Advance
going to
Collection.
mention that. And I mean, there's still a couple of Castlevania games I'd like them to port over. The DS ones, very specifically.
Yeah, but hopefully with the success, because that release came from the success of the previous collection that they did, which was all the classic ones.
Yeah.
Of like 1, 2, and 3, and some. I think there was another one in there, like some of the Game Boy games as well. So, yeah, they've been more like trying to update a lot of their games for modern consoles and modern technology, like modern kind of like setups
Yeah.
recently. So that's what their plan has been for at least the last 5 years or so.
Yeah. And this is again more of the reason why it's on here as well. Is it's the ability to show that, hey, if people buy this, maybe Konami and other companies will see, hey, maybe we don't just sit on these IPs. Maybe we don't just let them collect the dust. And if you release them on PC, you will see that there is a modding community out there who, provided you guys do the bare minimum, will make it something worth picking up.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's something we should be praising them for.
Not praising them for, no, but it's at least... It's a step in the right direction, at least. I've been playing the with the HD mod for 3 and 2. So the game has been running... I mean, there's an upscaler for up to 4K for both of them. I've just been playing on my 1080 because that's my monitor. And it's nice to see the game that, when I last played it, was at like 460 or something. Whatever the...
No, the HD versions would have been...
Well, I was going to say, HD... The HD versions might have been 720.
I think maybe 720, yeah.
Maybe 720. Yeah. All I know is I think these were standard def when they were released. But yeah, the HD editions are... The HD versions are now patchable in, and it looks great. And we can only see in the future, hopefully, like there's a Metal Gear randomizer, which Random Genius showed off in one of our Discord channels. And I can only say I can really hope that kind of stuff comes out as well. We can have a resurgence of old games being brought to life again. And that is what I'm here for. And which is why I think you should pick up the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection.
Yeah,
this is a award show, not a sales pitch. Well, at least that collection is helping towards the the remake of 3 Delta. So
exactly,
hopefully Delta will make good use of the goodwill that has become of at least the PC collection there.
Yeah,
like you said there. My number 4 is definitely something I was kind of like looking forward to, but also kind of like thinking, oh, okay. Now, this is a game that would definitely not be getting any nominations whatsoever from any publication, because not only is it like from a development team that's not the best, and it is very janky at points, but it's hilariously janky, and I love it. But it's also of a property that I'm actually, I love the original source material of this property and whatnot, and I had a blast going through this, just being the character and whatnot, and that is RoboCop Rogue City. And I don't know, I just loved playing through this game. Like, I had a blast just like going through it, like playing as RoboCop, building up a skill tree as such to kind of like, I say skill tree, but like putting up leveling up skills to kind of like
upgrades.
Unlock more. Putting in upgrades and whatnot. Have the Auto 9. Probably one of the most iconic guns in not just film history now game history is a factor now, because granted, RoboCop's had games in the past. Obviously, you've had like the arcade games, and then probably the most notable one for the Sega era of like Sega Mega Drive and whatnot was RoboCop versus Terminator. A lot of people love that. but this game, Rogue City, is effectively RoboCop 2.5, where it takes place between RoboCop, the original trilogy's films, of between the movie of 2 and 3. Now, granted, obviously, in terms of like characterization and stuff like that, based after 1, after 1, they totally ruined the characterization or like the story arc for Murphy, RoboCop, and whatnot.
I've got to say that I can remember the first movie fairly well, and the second and third, just there's a blank void in my head.
I don't think I've ever seen the second or third.
All right. I mean, granted, I've seen the second. I've seen all 3. It's just I haven't seen 2 and 3 as often as 1. But I know what happens between in both 2 and 3. And of course, with Rogue City taking place after 2, you get an understanding of what has happened after the events of 2. So it's fine in that kind of like world building as such, and it has a bit of like RPG-esque elements to it, where you're like, your actions with interacting with certain characters can actually change the outcome of your ending at the end of the game. Because I've noticed this with some people's playthroughs, it's like depending on their choices and stuff like that, it does actually change change the outcome of like certain characters and stuff like that. And then there was one character's outcome that actually ties in to the third film. So it's like, oh, okay. So I just did that. But then for other people's playthrough, it didn't happen for them because they didn't make the right choices, I think. But overall, like, I just had a blast just playing as RoboCop, like in this first person perspective, just going around shooting dudes. Now, granted,
you definitely had fun when I was watching you play it on
stream.
Yeah,
I was having a lot of fun. I mean, granted, I wasn't doing it that often, but you can shoot like it's like like obviously it's a physics engine. It's like when you shoot at certain areas on an enemy's body and whatnot, they will react. And of course, one area that is reactable is right between the legs.
Yes, the family jewels.
Which is effectively the first trophy I actually got in the game.
Oh god.
So yeah.
I mean, there's the whole. I mean, there's that one scene which we know.
Yes.
So of course it had to be in there.
It had to be referenced, and it had to be a mechanic as well, because you could just go around and just shoot everyone in the crotch, like for no, and just keep going for crotch shots. I mean, granted, you say it yourself with you and Kev Urtheart playing through Sniper Elite, where you can go for the crotch shot every time. Yeah,
it's not the easiest place to hit. The head's a little bit doable. Easier.
But no. But joking aside, I've had a blast with the game. I was playing it on normal standard difficulty, had a decent time with it. And granted, you can just go through it however you like. There's a lot of versatility. There's no New Game Plus, but really, if you wanted to go through it again and make different choices, build a different RoboCop, because you don't earn enough XP to max out RoboCop at all. Now, I don't know if they've updated it recently with a New Game Plus, where you could play as your as carry over your RoboCop to another another playthrough, and then doing it on a harder kind of like difficulty. But no, I mean, you can just go back to start again, do certain things differently, and whatnot. And yeah, I just found it really fun. I would definitely make a recommendation to give it a blast if you like, if you like the old RoboCop franchise. So like the the original film, and you wanted to play in that kind of like dystopian Detroit kind of like future, even though it's like many people thought it was set in like 1980s.
It was set
Detroit
in the far
for some
future.
bizarre-
It was set
Yeah,
in
it was in the
the
far
future of
future.
Detroit, back in the old world. I think it's set like the date it is set is now past the original.
Oh, yeah.
one.
Oh, that's the thing about all those kind of old like movies back then. It's like in the far off future of 2006, and with this point here, we're sitting here like,
Where's
Yeah,
my
that-
hoverboard?
yeah, that went.
Where's my dystopian future? Damn it!
I mean, to be fair, all the reviews I've seen of this have basically gone, this is a fun game. Yes, it's janky. Yes, it's not an amazing... It's not going to blow your mind. But it's fun. What more do you want than that?
And that's why I like with our gaming years and whatnot. These are mostly gonna be games that we had enjoyment with, and none more so than this game here. I had a blast playing through this game, and currently, if you are listening to this, my entire playthrough, which was also a platinum pursuit, so I went for the platinum for this game, which is really simple, straightforward, kind of like platinum as well. You can go watch that on the Last Minute Continue YouTube channel. All of the sessions will be uploaded on there. If not all now, but it should be there. You know, as you get to listen to this. So after you listen to all this, go watch my playthrough and see how much fun I was having. So. But yeah, that was my number 4. Earth, what's yours?
Mine's a tongue twister.
Oh dear.
Well, at least for my dialect it is. But it is a music game
Oh.
called Final Fantasy Theatrhythm Final Line Bar.
Okay, yeah, that's a tongue twister.
It's not
So-
the longest title in the series, so I'll definitely say that.
Well, to be fair, it is kind of... I think this is the grand finale of this series. I can't see them doing another major one other than just porting this one on. So it's a new version of the game, of the series, which has traditionally been on the DS. Because previously you used the touchscreen. And I think you still can on the Switch version of the game. I've got the PlayStation version of the game. And they thankfully changed the controls for the PlayStation version to something that's quite comfortable, to be honest. But yeah, why is it the final version? Well, there's 350 tracks in it, in the base game. Over 350, I should say. That doesn't include any of the DLC, although majority of the DLC is for non-Final Fantasy games. So, The World Ends With You, the Saga series, the Nier series, that kind of stuff. But yeah, you've got, all of these tracks across over 15 games, because it includes Final Fantasy 1 to 15. It includes the various sequels that came out for games, so for the After Years, it's got 10-2, the other 13 games, they're bundled together. There's Final Fantasy 7 gets Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and then an extra category with Crisis Core, Dirge of Cerberus, and Advent Children in it. And it includes some other smaller games, so it includes stuff like Crystal Chronicles, and the biggest one from my perspective is Final Fantasy Record Keeper, which is a game that no longer runs outside of Japan, but was one I played a lot of. And yeah, they've included a load of remixes from that song, not all of them. I'm kind of sad they missed one of them. I really like the remixes of Contest of Aeons, and none of them are in this one. But it not only do they include tracks from it, they include a character from it, because while the music game goes on, you actually have a little RPG battles happening below, which the better you do at the music rhythm stuff, the better they do. And like levels will have challenges that can sometimes be based on how well those characters do. There's a lot in the game, and yeah, it's just a nice relaxing thing. So I've mostly played it through on its lowest difficulty, because that's what I'm kind of playing it through for. relaxing and listening to the music. There are harder difficulties. Every song has 3 levels of difficulty. Some have a 4th level if you're insane. And yeah, it's just a nice little game. They have a massive selection of characters. Not everyone is there. For instance, Final Fantasy VII only has... I say only, has 2 versions of Cloud, 2 versions of Tifa, Zack, Red 13, Barrett, Yuffie and Aerith, but I don't think there's any Vincent or Sid, which is a shame. There's also no Kingdom Hearts music. Kingdom Hearts got its own music-driven game, Melody of Memories, I think it's called.
Yes.
So, you know, if you want Kingdom Hearts music, go play that one. Although, interestingly, I saw someone who reviewed both, because I've not played Melody of Memories yet. And they loved Melody of Memories, and then they played Theatre Rhythm, but now they're like, I kind of wish the Kingdom Hearts one was this deep. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, you can just assemble a team with your favourite characters if you want. There's some missions that require you to, you know, have an entire Final Fantasy team based on that game, which is fair enough. And yeah, one of the other really nice features is it has built-in really handy streaming options. So, for instance, it'll reduce the size of the screen slightly to give you extra bars that say, okay, here is the track, here is the difficulty level for people who are watching to see, here's the inputs that the player is using, it lets you show that on screen, all of their abilities, that kind of stuff. There's also some fairly rudimentary colorblind options. I think they could have done a bit better than that. But overall, I mean, to be fair, it's a game for Final Fantasy fans. But if you are a fan of multiple of the games, it's a lovely, you know, it's a nice love letter to the series. There's a couple of things that I think is still missing. I'm surprised they've not added Final Fantasy 16 music since 16's release to tie in with it. Because this game was released quite early in the year. I think this was like February or March. Maybe a bit later.
It was definitely before 16, I believe.
Oh yeah, it was before 16. So yeah, I understand it not being there in release, but you know, tie-in. I said there's no Kingdom Hearts. There's no Brave Exvius, which I'm interested by. Brave Exvius is another mobile game, but that one's still going and is quite popular, and does have its own soundtrack. So I'm kind of intrigued that they put the dead mobile series on here, but not the one that's still going. Again, cross-promotion seems like an obvious thing. But, I mean, the other big thing is this game wasn't... The digital version was quite expensive, but you could get this game for like 30 quid on release. So, yeah. I can't see them doing any massive updates, and I will say the multiplayer is dead as a doornail. I've tried playing it a couple of times. It's gone. So you're probably only going to be able to play with friends. And to be honest, the multiplayer isn't really the reason I want to play the game. But, yeah. It's just enjoyable. It's one of those kind of game genres as well. You don't get too much of it, so just to have this kind of nice, relaxing game. And to be fair, you could also just use it as a music player. If you really... Once you've unlocked the songs, they just appear that you can just play them, blast them throughout on your PlayStation, and enjoy them. And there is, as I said, over 350 songs. They will be missing some. I will say one of the biggest worlds is 14. Understandably, it's a massive it's a massive MMO, but it doesn't have everything in there. Though again, that's not surprising. They've got some of the big hits, but not all of them. I will also say the graphics get a bit samey, but you're not playing the game for the graphics really. But I do kind of wish they'd have more variations of the summons. Because they reuse the summon image for every time it appears in the series, in each series, even though all of them have kind of their own individual ones. Like, I still love Final Fantasy X's Shiva with the dreadlocks. And I wish they'd use that design more often. But anyway, yeah. Final Fantasy Theatre Rhythm Final Line Bar. Actually, it might be Final Bar Line. I might be saying that wrong. I probably should have checked that.
I'm sure if you Google those words together, nothing else will turn up, because I can't think of any other combination where those words would be used.
True. I will say, if you buy the digital deluxe edition, it appears on the title screen as that as well. So you've then got to add that name onto it. Because I might have upgraded to the deluxe version when it went on sale for some extra songs, because a few of those songs are the songs from the Primals, and the Primals have some really good remixes.